integrating and embodying the practice. So today, Firefly is an arm balance. And just like those beautiful fireflies, I don't know where you grew up, but if you grew up in a region that's fireflies in the summertime, we'll explore revealing our inner glow, but with a sense of curiosity. So like any arm balances, be mindful that you're not allowing the challenges along the way to diminish your inner light. Keep shining brightly. And also, it's going to be light, that kind of light, and light. Like we did last week, letting go of anything that's holding you down or keeping you feeling heavy. So we'll get lighter by letting go of those things that keep us from trying and flying. So with that awareness, bring awareness to your breath. You could have your knees bent, resting in towards each other, hands wherever you like. Wherever you place your hands, that helps you acknowledge first that you have the strength, enthusiasm to show up on your mat today and to show up for yourself. Often showing up is the most challenging part. You can send gratitude to anyone or anything that supports you in being here today, again, as you show up in this radical act of self-care. Breathing fully now into the perimeters, the physical perimeters of your being. And each exhale is a deeper settling into yourself. About 3, 4 more full cycles of breath to mentally, emotionally arrive on your mat now that you've physically arrived. Each out-breath could be an opportunity to let go again of self-limiting thoughts, self-doubt, the stories of what you can and cannot do. Each out-breath is an opportunity to get a little bit lighter in how we approach challenging shapes and situations by letting go of too much seriousness and rigidity, starting with the breath and your face. Soften your eyeballs, maybe invite a little more upliftedness of the corners of your mouth and a little smile to yourself as you're about to play. And some key areas we'll address today: shoulders, core, and a lot of hips. Slowly open your eyes. Let's start off with the shoulders. Reach your fingertips to the sky. Squeeze your arms straight, palms together, and heavy shoulder blades down to the ground. So squeeze those arms straight. Paintbrush across the sky and ceiling as you tap into the subtle and free up your wings, because we'll need that for Firefly today. So you keep your arms super straight and keep your head and shoulders center, or rather your head and your chest center. 2 more times each direction. Loosen up the fibers of the back body. Finding center above your heart. Reach your right fingertips up and lift your right shoulder blade from the ground. Keep your arms super straight and now alternate. So you're sliding your hands, the palms of your hands across each other. Also a nice way to use the sense of touch to wake up, which will be our foundation for today. Our hands will be our foundation as we explore arm balancing. 2 more times each direction. And we'll meet, hands interlaced behind your head, elbows wide. Let's free up our neck and also allow the contents of our brain to settle. Elbows close together, and on your exhale, chin gently in towards your chest. Your hands lift your heavy head and gentle lifting of your tailbone. Slowly releasing on your inhale. Head down, elbows wide, drop the tailbone. 4 more times, own breath. So we have a heavy surrendering head as we acknowledge our heart, even acknowledging our gut, our intuition. This is time for the head to be heavy, to soften, and to let go of those, again, the rigidity of any self-limiting beliefs. Remembering along the way, any bit of the posture is the posture. It's about play and exploration. After your last round, slowly release your head and release your arms by your sides. Windshield wiper your legs side to side. So now we'll get a little bit into the hips. Firefly asks us to greet our hips with compassion and awareness. And then bring your knees to center and feet together. And grab onto a strap. And we'll take the strap around the sole. Oh, thank you for sharing. Take the strap around the sole of your right foot. You can either make a loop, one big loop, or hold on to both sides of the strap with your right hand. Half happy baby. So I need some opening, especially through the inner thighs. Bend the right knee until the right elbow comes down to the ground. Right sole of the foot to the sky. And extend your right leg to the right. And we'll alternate with that. Bend into half happy baby. So flexing at the right hip crease and reach and extend through the right foot. 3 more times like that. Rhythm of your own breath. We'll do a little hippie dance. Warm up our hips and maintain softness at the base of the skull, base of the neck, and your face. And then keep the chest open. Bring the right leg up to the sky. Keep it straight. Right leg straight. Now hold on to both sides of the strap with your left hand or left hand into the loop, and allow the outer left thigh and knee to fall to the ground as you lower your right leg to the left, right shoulder blade heavy to the ground. And then we'll dance. Right leg through center, left knee lifts up. Switching the hands, right leg to the right like we started. Own breath. Inhale, center. And exhale. We get a little twist here. Outer right hip away from armpit. 3 more times. Rhythm of your own breath. Join a little hippie dance and flow as we release any unnecessary tension in the spine, in our outer hips, a little bit of everything. Let's meet with the right leg to the left. Right leg to the left. Reach and extend through your right leg. And move the outer right hip energetically away from your right armpit. You can turn your gaze and breathe. Allow your collarbones, arm bones, and shoulder blades to be heavy towards the ground, towards the back body. For another 3, 2, and 1. Using awareness of the core, finding your center. And release your right foot from the strap, right foot to the ground. Pause and notice any shifts or changes. Nice to take pause and notice the effects of your efforts. Left foot into the strap. Half happy baby pose. Right arm can be wherever you like. Hold on to whatever way is comfortable for you. And be mindful that your left sole of the foot is reaching towards the sky. That the left heel is not collapsing towards your bottom. And then straighten. Extend your left leg to the left. Reach and extend. Energize the front of your left thigh. About 4 more times like that. Half happy baby. And extend your left leg to the left. All right, so the left knee will be closer towards the ground through the movement. So keep the left knee facing towards the ground and reaching straight up. Let's meet with the left leg straight. Keep it straight and guide it up to center. Pause here. And we'll switch hands. So right hand to the strap. Lower to the outer right thigh and right knee as you lower your left leg to the right. And we'll dance. Bring it to center on your inhale. Left hand to strap, left leg to the left. About 3, 4 more times like that. Own breath. Making sure you're switching the hand as the left leg lowers to the right. You hold on with your right hand. And as you lower the left leg to the left, holding on with your left hand. After your last round, we'll meet to the right. So left leg to the right, you could turn your head. Outer left hip from your left armpit. Get broad through the collarbones. Collarbones heavy, arm bones heavy, shoulder blades heavy. Towards the back body for 3, 2, and 1. Awareness of the core to bring it all back on up to center. Release your left foot from the strap. Left foot to the ground. Knees rest in towards each other. Pause and notice. Bring your feet together, knees together, and hug your knees into your chest. Little rock side to side. So we got a little bit of shoulders and hips. We'll rock forward and back. Make our way to some core to fire it up. So about 4 to 5 rocks. You can hold on to the shins or no hands. Pat the ground as you come up. This is functional core work. Great. And we'll come on up. Take your hands behind you and extend your right leg in front. Hold on to your left shin, interlace your fingers, and then pull in, lift the lower spine in and up. Active hip flexion, super important for arm balancing, especially for Firefly. So you keep the lower spine in up, pull up, broaden through the collarbones, and then lift your right leg up. And imaginary block, we'll do imaginary block. To the left and to the right, everybody's favorite. Don't let this active hip flexion diminish your inner light. Keep the chest open. Keep a little smile for 3, 2, woo, and 1. Bring it to center. Hands by the sides, and we switch. Okay, right into the fire. Interlace your hands in front of your bent knee shin. Pull in, lift, and lengthen. Broaden through the collarbones, lift up. Lift a little or a lot, side to side. For another 5, everyone's favorite. 3, 2, and 1. Hello, hip flexors. Extend both legs forward. Shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. We'll do a little tushy walk. So you can bring your hands to your heart. Back. Nice way to loosen up and also plugging the thigh bones back to the hip sockets and forward. And also it's a little silly to make sure we're not taking ourselves too seriously. And tushy scoot it to the middle. Bend the knees. Tight little cosmic ball. So now we'll get more into the core. Balancing on your sitting bones. Feet hover over the ground. Shoulders from the ears. Forehead towards your knees. So you're rounding inward. And jellyfish half boat. Take up lots of space. A little core. And exhale. Bring it in. 4, 5 more times. If you need, you could pad up underneath your sitting bone and your tailbone if you need. Jellyfish, expanding and contracting. We're going to meet in that expanded low boat variation. Interlace your hands behind your head, and to make sure we're not taking ourselves too seriously, clap your feet for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Oh, release, big body yawn. Hug both knees and rock it up. We'll be so happy to stretch our inner thighs now. Cobblers pose. Soles of the feet together. 4 corners of the feet touching. We'll be happy to linger in some stretching, active stretching though. 4 corners of the feet together. Hands to your ankles, and we'll start off bringing the elbows close into the sides of the body. Press the feet together. Pull the ankles back and our lower spine in and up, and then press the feet into each other and lengthen the knees away from the core of the pelvis. So now you're going to keep that. Now you can open the elbows wide and take your forearms to your shins. So today we're going to practice a lot of hugging the shins in and widening the inner thighs apart. So you're creating resistance between your forearms and your shins, and the inner thighs spin in, back, and apart. There will be some rounding in the spine and the upper spine, but you still want to make sure there's an opening through the chest. So collarbones back, arm bones back, shoulder blades back, and then you can begin to fold it forward. So pressing your shins and your forearms in towards each other, and then widen the inner thighs back, and engage some, it's known as Uddiyana Bandha, or soften the ribs back, and then lengthen through the spine. You can fold a little bit more deeply. For another 3, breathing 2, And one, mindfully as you can. Releasing. All right, bring your legs out wide. Wide-legged straddle. It may be helpful either to have socks on. You could have socks on if this is going to bother you, or you could scoop back so that your feet are on the mat. I personally like to have a little padding underneath my heels. Take your hands by your hips. You can lift your hips up a little bit and then scoot your bum back, or you could take your hands, manual adjustment. Spiral your inner thighs in, back, and apart. Pull your bum flesh out from underneath. Okay, yeah, and a rolled blanket or a block if you need. And have your knees and toes facing up to the sky. So we do something similar here. You energetically hug your shins in towards each other and then widen the inner thighs apart. I'm going to bend my knees and take a little bit more active variation. So make sure your shins aren't popping out to the side. Hug your shins in and spin your inner thighs in, back, and apart. And then keep that core awareness, lengthen through the spine, and then extend out through the feet and fold a little bit more forward. You can stay here and do that a couple times or walk your hands forward a little or a lot. Again, bend the knees, soften your hip creases, hug the shins in, and widen the inner thighs in, back, and apart. Belly and ribs in, and then from there, press and extend through your leg bones and fold a little bit more deeply. Couple cycles of breath here. The lower spine is coming in and up. So you can see very much how this is a relative important shape to firefly, those of you who are familiar. And you can do that again. You can even slide the hands back, bend the knees, hug the shins in like we did for Cobblers Pose. Spiral the inner thighs in, back, and apart. It's not going to be some big, glorious movement. It's more energetic and subtle. And then keep that. Engage the core and then extend through the leg bones. So you're hugging the shins in, inner thighs in, back, and apart. Extend the leg bones. So you create these meaningful boundaries in which to expand and breathe. Extra love and patience, starting with the breath. Don't let these holds or challenging shapes diminish your inner light or your breathing. So making sure you're getting off at the bus stop that you could still breathe fully, not forcefully, for 3, 2. This is when everyone starts checking their clothes and their toes. And 1, slowly release, myself included. Take your hands to your inner knees and lean back. That's me for any forward fold. And pull your legs up. Let's give ourselves a little assistance there. Nice. Mindfully, doesn't have to be gracefully. Come onto your hands and knees. We'll do a similar shape soon, but we'll prep our wrists because we know it's important to prep our wrists before any arm balancing. Let's start off with the fingertips to the sides and towards your knees. You may need to shorten the distance between your knees and your fingertips. And let's circle around. So it's not just the hips that are circling. I'm not just doing this with my hips. I'm taking my whole body forward and my shoulders behind my wrists. About 5 times each direction. Shoulders soften from the ears, soften your face and your eyeballs. This is also a soft face practice amongst the challenging shapes, situations. After you've done 5 times each direction, we'll bring it forwards. Fingertips forward. Again, shorten the distance as much as you need between your hands and your knees. Flip onto the back of your hands. Back of your hands. Shoulders from the ears. This is wrist flexion. Open and close. You're going to make fists. Here, open and close. Relax your shoulders. Soften your eyeballs. Another 3 more. And after your last round, you can stand on your knees as you peel the hands away, circle the wrist, and shake it out. And hands and knees for something familiar. Cat-cows. Rhythm of your own breath rounding through the spine. Whatever cat-cow you like. If you want, you can bend the elbows in between, straightening the arms when you arrive into your cat or your cow. That way you make sure you have an acknowledgement of the flow moving through the joints, that we're not locking the joints. Let's meet neutral position. Tuck your toes under. Round through the spine and keep that cat-like spine. Bring the hips back. So we'll get a little bit more lower back and the feet. 3 more times. Inhale, forward, neutral spine. And exhale, round and bringing it back. Rhythm of your own breath. About 2 more. Belly and ribs to the back body. And then we'll make our way to neutral. Bring your knees and your feet together. Walk your hands back, and for a moment we'll come into toe breaker pose. Everybody's favorite. You can stay here. Half the time I'm over here. Be mindful that you're not overarching through your lower back. Sitting bones heavy towards your heels. Breathing for 3, 2, 1. Shift the weight forward onto your fingertips. And you're going to lift your knees up. Okay, so for me, I need a block or extra roll blanket. We're going to make our way with Malasana pose, or a variation of a low squat. And you're going to walk your hands forward. Now you're going to take best you can. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to roll up the back of my mat. So if your heels come down to the ground, go for it. You can even do a little squat here. Today I need to bring the ground closer. And find a variation. Now you could do this with your feet wide as well if you need to. You could also do it with your feet wide. We're all going to do it with our feet wide anyway. You're going to snuggle your upper arm bones to the inside of your knees. So best you can, you're going to have your knees coming toward your upper arm bones. And this is active. You're going to hug, so using your adductors here, because we know the adductors hugging into midline, very important for arm balancing. Hug your knees into your upper arm bones and spiral energetically your inner thighs in, back, and apart. And then walk your spine forward. I'm just going to make a little higher roll for me here. A higher perch. Okay. So hug your knees in towards your shoulders. Spiral inner thighs in, back, and apart. If your heels come down, go for it. Mine don't come down. Not today. And then belly and ribs in, and then belly and ribs soften in and lengthen through the spine. It's almost like child's pose, but on your heels. But squeeze those knees in. Spiral the inner thighs in, back, and apart. For 3, 2, and 1. Mindfully as you can. You're going to walk the hands back. You're going to lift your hips up, slide the hands back as much as you need to. And then we'll remember the same action here. Hug the knees energetically in towards each other. Shift the weight forward into your fingertips. Look forward. And engage the pelvic floor and the core. As you shift the weight forward, hug the knees energetically and press the ground away. You might lift one foot up, then the other, or alternate for 3. Press the ground away, 2, and 1. Mindfully as you can. Releasing down. Good. Then you're going to straighten your legs and bring your feet as wide as the mat into like a wide-legged or a wide-legged forward fold. Let that go. Make sure you're breathing. Your seaweed, your upper body seaweed at the bottom of the sea. And we'll make our way into a wider legged Malasana. Heels and toes out, squatting frog. Now you may need 1 or 2 blocks underneath your bottom for this. And so 2 blocks if you need. I have 1 right now. I'm going to do 1 here, or you could stay here without a block, without any blocks. Now you're going to use your elbows this time to squeeze the shins in towards each other and widen your inner thighs apart. And then broaden through the collarbones back, arm bones back, shoulder blades back. You're going to stay on the block. You can introduce the block whenever you need. Reaching your right fingertips in front of your right toes, reach your left arm up. Now be mindful. I have to be really mindful for me. You could come onto the flat on your hand if you like. Right shoulder presses back into the right knee presses into the shoulder. Yeah, so you might feel a little opening through your inner right groin and also right shoulder back. This is important prep for Firefly. For 3, 2, and 1. Slowly releasing and switching sides. You can sit on a block, whatever you need. So be mindful you're not dumping like I am here. I'm taking my left shoulder back and I'm pressing the knee and the upper arm bone together as I twist to the opposite direction. Breathing. For 3, turning with the ribs, not just the neck. 2, and 1. Slowly releasing. Shift the weight forward and curl, or rather spin your toes forward and heels back. Same thing here. Seaweed at the bottom of the sea. Let it go, let it go. All right, feet as wide as your mat. So outer edges of feet in line with the mat, maybe a little bit wider. And then we're gonna take our hands to our ankles. The outer ankles here to assist on this concept, this action of shins in and thighs apart. So bending the knees, bending the elbows, press your hands into your shins, but shins resist to help spin the inner thighs in, back, and apart. It's energetic. It's not gonna be this big, glorious movement. Then Uddiyana Bandha, or belly and ribs in, and then straighten the legs as you fold more inward. So this energetic hugging the shins in, inner thighs apart, dropping the tailbone as you lengthen through the legs from the core of the pelvis. Do that a couple more times. Bend the knees, shins in, thighs apart, and then straighten the legs and fold. Shoulders away from your ears. You can keep the hands on the ankles or take your hands onto the ground and flip your fingertips to face behind you. Bend the knees. You might need to bring the feet wider. Bend the knees, shins in, thighs out, in, back, and apart. And then press the hands down into the ground as you straighten the legs and fold. Couple cycles of breath. Again, you can bend the knees a couple times, shins hug in, thighs spin back. Then press the feet down, hands down, fold a little bit more deeply. Side body nice and long for another 3, 2, 1. Bend the knees, slide your hands forward. Same action with the legs. Interlace your hands behind your back. Hug the shins energetically in and then widen the thighs back and lift your upper arm bones, or rather your collarbones, your upper arm bones and your shoulder blades to the back body. Bend the knees, shins in, widen the inner thighs in, back, and apart. Upper arm bones, collarbones, shoulder blades back as you lengthen the legs and fold a little bit more deeply. Breathing, let the 4 sides of your neck lengthen out from your shoulder girdle for 3, 2, like you're energetically pulling the mat apart with your heels. And 1, slowly make your way all the way on up to standing with a long spine. Oh, yay, we're standing. What's going on over there? Oh, yeah, fun. Bring your feet closer together and you can shake it out, reorientate yourself into space. Let's walk to the front of the mat. I'll go to the frontish of the mat. Feet inner hip width distance apart. A little opening through the side body before we continue with those shapes in a different relationship in space. Root down, rise up, inhale. As you exhale, interlace your fingers and release your index fingers and thumbs. And then lean to your right and 10 little bounces here. Open up the side body. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring it up. Other side, little bounces. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lift it up. Separate the hands. You maybe gaze up and exhale. Hands to your heart. Hinging at your hips. Bend the knees and fold forward. Couple of half sun A's. Inhale. Halfway lift. And exhale. Fold. Root down, rise up. Extended mountain pose. Inhale. And exhale, pull it into your heart. Lift your heart up to your thumbs. A couple more times. Surrender your fingertips towards the ground. Root down, rise up. And exhale, pull it in and down. Halfway lift, press through the feet. Lengthen the spine. Fold forward and exhale. Root down, rise up. Extended mountain pose. And exhale, hands to your heart. One more time. Release the arms, sweep them up. Inhale and exhale. Fold. Halfway lift, inhale. And exhale, forward fold. Root down, rise up. Inhale and exhale. Pull it into your heart. We'll add on with one sun A. Fingertips towards the ground. Keep reaching through the fingertips from the center of your heart as you reach up. Exhale and fold. Halfway lift, inhale. As you exhale, hands on the ground, step back into plank. So find your foundation in your hands because they will be our foundation for the arm balancing today. But also asking your core and your legs to work just as much as the upper body. For 3, 2, 1. Shift the weight slightly forward for this variation and lower down. You could come into locust, cobra, or upward facing dog, whatever you like. Strong, pressing your hands down and pulling back, whatever variation you're taking for 3, 2, and 1. And downward facing dog. Pedal it out. Suction cup like hands. Are you using those hand muscles to prevent you from dumping into your wrists, drawing energy to the base of the heart. And then from the base of the heart, send that energy back and down into the hands, up the spine, outer hips, and then down the back of your legs. Inhale, lift your heels, bend your knees, and as you exhale, step your right foot forward. Okay, and you can start off with the back knee down. Take your right hand to the inside of your right foot. Stay here or make your way onto your forearm. So we'll do lizard. Lizard pose. So you could even bring your hands on blocks or elbows onto blocks. Stay here or curl the back toes under and lift up the back knee. Same thing here. You're hugging your shins in towards each other. Right shin into your right upper arm bone or shoulder. And then widen the inner thighs apart. Now be mindful that you're not pressing the top of the left thigh bone down. Let the left thigh bone lift up and be buoyant. And from there, you can lengthen the right knee forward as you lengthen the left heel back. But without collapsing that back thigh bone, keep it lifted. It seems counterintuitive at first. Keep it lifted and then get brighter from the chest. Don't let all this hip opening diminish your inner light. So collarbones, upper arm bones, shoulder blades onto the back for 3, 2, hugging into midline and expanding, and 1. Lower the back knee down. Now you can stay on your left elbow or your left hand. Turn your right toes out slightly and keep the right foot flexed and active. Fall onto the outer edge of your right foot. And you can take your right hand to your right thigh and create some resistance there between your right hand and right thigh. So you're hugging your shins energetically in, but then my inner thighs are spiraling in, back, and apart. And then I begin to expand outward from the core of my pelvis through my leg bones. Gaze could be wherever you like. And breathing, making sure to get off at the bus stop before if you're not breathing. 2, and 1. Mindfully as you can. Right foot to the ground. Right toes face forward. Curl the back toes under. Now step your back foot forward like half a step to a step. We're going to make our way into a triangle pose variation. All right, so heels might be a little bit wider than hip width apart or heel to heel alignment. Blocks if you need. And hug the shins in energetically and then widen your inner thighs apart. And then hug into the core. And they get strong through the legs. So from the 2 halves of your pelvis, from the core of your pelvis, you extend down. You can use blocks if you need. But so strong and stable in the legs that you're able to bring your hands to the heart and lift up into a halfway lift. Strong through both legs. Yeah. We need some strong extending out legs for our firefly. For 3, 2, 1, keep that strength in the legs as you pull the right thigh bone back and fold, maybe a little bit more deeply, but hug the shins in, inner thighs widen apart, and then belly and ribs soften in. And slowly releasing into a low lunge, find your downward facing dog. Maybe a low push-up for a rinse cycle in between if you like. And we'll meet, lifting the heels, bending the knees, and stepping your left foot forward, back knee down, and left hand to the inside of your left foot for lizard on this side. So you can start off on hands or your elbows. You'll first look inward in self-acknowledgement, checking in. Keeping the right knee down or lift the right knee, but as you lift the right knee, make sure you're lifting the right thigh bone up. Thanks. And hugging the left shin into the left arm bone. Okay, so you're hugging into midline, then widen the inner thighs in, back, and apart. And then maintain that upliftedness, that sense of buoyancy in the hips. Lengthen the right heel back, but not dumping in the hips. Keep them buoyant and lengthen your left knee forward. And then begin to look slightly forward. Collarbones, arm bones, shoulder blades to the back body, and breathing. Again, making sure that you're in a shaper position where you're not taking yourself too seriously and you're also breathing. Another 3, 2, and 1. Mindfully lower down to the back knee. Turn your left toe slightly out. You can stay on right hand or right elbow down. Left hand to left thigh. Flex your left ankle so you're still active through the feet as you roll onto the outer left foot. Left hand, hug the two together. I notice my right thigh bone is definitely collapsing down. Lift the top of the right thigh bone up so you get a little bit more buoyant through the hips. You can even slide the back knee back. Keep that sense of buoyancy and then lengthen the thigh bones evenly away from each other. But there's still an element of hugging the shins energetically in. So you're not dumping and widening your inner thighs apart. It's not going to be some big glorious movement. You're creating more spaciousness in the hips. Keep the top of the right thigh bone up for 3, not collapsing down. 2, and 1. Mindfully releasing. Walk your left foot a little bit more center. As mindfully as you can, make your way into pyramid pose. So now the legs will be straight and strong. So you're pulling the front of the thigh bones up, pressing the feet down, hug the shins energetically in, widen the inner thighs apart, drop the tailbone from the core of the pelvis. Press down through the legs so much that maybe you could bring your hands to your heart and come into a halfway lift. Belly and ribs in. Expanding strongly out through your feet. Hug the shins in. Widen the inner thighs apart for 3, 2, 1. Keep those strong legs and core awareness so you can fold a little bit more deeply. Shins in. Thighs in, back and apart. Drop tailbone and extend through your limbs, especially your legs, for another 3, and 2, and 1. Mindfully as you can, release ball of the back foot, step it back into down dog, or take a little push-up, whatever you need. And inhale, lift your heels, change directions, bend your knees, step your right foot forward, Now you may need a block to bring the ground closer. Spin your back foot flat. A block, if you want, to the inside of your right foot. Medium height, low height, tall height. We're going to come into extended side angle. So right hand flat on a blocker ground. Good. And now you'll create resistance between your right shoulder, right arm bone with your right knee. Press the two together. So like we did before in that squat, make sure the right shoulder is not collapsing forward like mine is. Take the collarbone back, the arm bone back, and the shoulder blade back. You want to stay bright through the chest. Stay here, reach the left arm up, left bicep over left ear. So again, right shoulder back, away from ear. Stay here or towards a bind. So left arm to lift up, flip the left palm back, bend the elbow, and take your right arm, so press down through the legs. Right hand flips back, bend the elbow, and reaching for a strap or towards your left hand. Now you're gonna keep, you can use a strap in between your hands if you need. You're going to keep the elbows slightly bent, lift the armpits, and then broaden to the collarbones as you energetically pull your hands apart. So you're still resisting between your right shoulder and your right thigh. Spin your ribs to the ceiling instead of your neck. For another 3, 2, and 1. You're going to slowly release your hands and press your way on up to standing straight in the front leg. Yay. Feet parallel to each other, block could be to the side. Rotate the toes more in towards each other, but the rotation comes from the upper thigh bones in the hip sockets. Okay, bring your hands to your hips, inhale, press down to lift up, and as you exhale, hinging at your hip creases, folding forward. Take your hands to your outer ankles or shins, like we did before in the wide-legged forward fold. Bend your knees, hug your shins in, and widen your inner thighs apart energetically. And then keep that belly and ribs, Uddiyana Bandha. Press through the legs, press through the feet, and lengthen your legs and fold a little bit more deeply. Shoulders from the ears. Do that a couple more times. Bend the knees, shins in, inner thighs in, back and apart, and then straighten the legs without dumping the hips back. You're keeping the weight slightly more forward into your toes as you bend the elbows, and you can press your hands into your shins or your ankles. Good. Keep with that, or hands on the ground, shoulder width apart, flip your fingertips towards the back. Walk your hands towards the long edge of the mat that's behind you. Okay, so we'll use again the pressing of the hands and the feet down to fold more deeply, but first bending the knees, hugging your shins energetically in, and inner thighs spin in, back, and apart. Now keep that. Press your feet down from the core of the pelvis, press your hands down to pull you through. You can maybe bend the elbows, but keep hugging the shins in, inner thighs in, back, and apart. Engaging and softening front of the body to the back. Do that a couple more times. Again, bending the knees, hug the shins energetically in, and then widen the inner thighs in, back, and apart. And pressing the feet down to lengthen from the core of the pelvis. You can even press the hands down and energetically pull yourself through. You can even bend the elbows, almost like a reverse chaturanga. Breathe. Make sure you're not collapsing back into your hips or eating your necklace like I am. Things to think about before class. And then mindfully as you can, releasing, come into a halfway lift. And bring your hands to your hips, strong through the legs, long spine, come all the way on. Oh boy, yeah. And I will turn the toes to the left, bend the left knee, block if you need. And we'll come into extended side angle on the left side. Make sure the back heel is spinning slightly to the right. Left hand could be on the block. You can take right hand to right hip. Let's first set up the feet. And then notice what's going on with your left shoulder. Some resistance here as you press the left collarbone, left shoulder blade back, but you're pressing the left arm bone and the left knee in to open up through the chest, right arm up, right bicep over right ear. Also firming and wrapping, middle of right seat down and under. Making sure you're still broadening through the chest. Stay here or bind right arm up, flip the right palm back. This might be really different here. Back of the hand to the waistband. Now press down through the legs. Engage the core. It can help to actually hug the shins in and reach back for the right hand as you bow inward in self-acknowledgement and respect. So the inner thighs are spiraling in, back, and apart. And then from there, firm and wrap middle of left seat down and under. Extend through the back leg. Bending the knees, bending the elbows slightly, and broaden through the collarbones as you resist the left arm bone and the left leg for 3, 2, and 1. Mindfully as you can, releasing. You'll make your way to standing straight in the front leg. Woo, and then bring your toes in, heels out. Move the block to the side if you need. Okay, something similar to start off, hands to the hips, to continue rather, and fold. This time, couple rounds of hands to the outer shins or your ankles, bend the knees again. And as you bend the knees, widen the inner thighs apart. And then begin to straighten, belly and ribs soften in, and fold shoulders from the ears. Staying there for 2 cycles of breath and then doing another round. You could also practice energetically pulling the mat apart with your heels. And folding. And slowly release your hands. Okay, this time, keep your fingertips facing forward. Now you can use blocks too if you need, if you're familiar with this. Bend your knees again a lot. Hug the shins in and the inner thighs in, back, and apart. And then walk your hands back, still shoulder width, but towards behind your heels. Your heels of your hands probably won't be down already. Okay, but walk your fingertips back so the fingertips are behind the heels of the hands. And then begin to lean back, hug the elbows in. Maybe you get to sit on your triceps here towards. Maybe the feet lift. Maybe as you extend out through the balls of the feet. And a couple times, you're going to shift forward and back. So we'll do a good couple of rounds. Coming into that forward fold, feet on the ground, shins hug in, sense of humor and curiosity. Inner thighs in, back, and apart. And then you can lengthen in between and pull yourself down. And then again, bend. And then sit back. And as much as the booty is reaching back, you have to lift your sternum. Yeah, that happens too. That happens a lot for me. Active flexion, maybe a couple times towards. It could be nice. You might need to have them, Mary Ann, flat. Yeah. Your whole hand down. Oh, that's good. Yeah, you could practice like sitting and not really sitting also. Yeah, I need some arm extenders. Why don't you, yeah, I see. Yeah. Cool, slowly, we're getting to like low squat position. That's okay, because I'm gonna demonstrate something else now, so I could like take a break and look. Then you could bring towards the tiny knot pose of bringing your feet in towards each other and hook the ankles and pull apart. Now, as much as your bum wants to descend to the ground, lift your heart towards. But these, again, slowly. Any amount of the pose is the pose. But best you can, you have your hands towards behind your heels. Lift your heart down. Sometimes nice, everyone. It's nice to have like a crash pad below you because it will happen. We will be taking a seat. And after your last one more attempt, if you want, we'll do another round too. Don't worry. Keep on flying. Back. As I let my hips lower, I lift my heart. And again, you can walk the feet in towards each other. Cross the ankles in front, get into a tiny little knot and pull apart, lift the chest, yay. It's fun. Letting go of any kind of achieving, woo. Embracing awkward, woo. Any bit of the pose is the pose. For me, forward folding is definitely not easy. Oh, they come all the way on up. Yay, reorienting yourself in space. Way to play, ladies. Fun. We were in this shape for a long time. It's nice to bring the legs closer together. Shake it out. So we'll approach it from another angle. There's many ways to enter that pose. That's one of my favorite ones. I like to have the legs like wide to start off with. But we can start off as another option. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see a little bit more. This one is not as much my favorite, but it may be more your favorite. So feet could be as wide as the mat or a little bit wider. Let's like stretch it up just for a moment. It's like for integration. Exhale and fold. Come into a halfway lift. We'll do a half sunny. And exhale, fold. Bend the knees, long spine. Come all the way on up. Inhale. It's like a wide-legged half sunny. Okay, now we'll flow it down. Inhale. Feet could be as wide as the mat. A little bit wider. Okay, so here's another example here. Very similar, but the feet start off more narrow. You can have one hand down and lift up the right heel, bend the right knee, right hand behind the right leg, snuggle one shoulder underneath, and then land, and then the other, snuggle underneath. Okay, and then hug the shins in. I need my feet wider. Hug the shins in, widen the inner thighs apart, fingertips press down. I'm not going to straighten so much, but you may. I'm not. You begin to straighten, but hug the shins in, inner thighs apart. Fold a little bit more deeply. And then come into skier's pose. Take your hands to your forearms. I think that's the deepest, if you will, quote, I've ever done in a forward fold there. Helps to demonstrate. So maybe this pose probably would have been better to start off with, better, more accessible. So I'm coming to skier's pose, energetically hug the shins in, widen the inner thighs apart, and then brighten through the heart, and stay there. So I'm like energetically pulling my heels apart, like I'm pulling the mat apart with my heels. Good, and then a similar action, then you're gonna fold, bend the knees, and again, you can walk the hands back without lifting up the heel and snuggling underneath, but it could be helpful depending on where you are. And then I bring my hands to my heart, hug the shins in, inner thighs in, back and apart, and I begin to straighten the legs, towards. I'm a little surprised at myself right now, to tell you the truth. Maybe because I did a little bit this morning. But it's towards. And then, see, my legs aren't going to completely straighten right now. I don't know. Oh. But the bending, and then the same similar. We'll start off with the knees bent, but snuggling your shoulders, your knees as close to the outer shoulders as you can. And then begin to lift the heart. We could start off in a tiny knot. I think that's what the Sanskrit translates into, tiny knot pose. Pull apart, yay, way to play. You could cross the ankles towards, hugging in. So you're hugging the shins in and inner thighs in, back and apart. And then if you want, expand. All that active hip flexion. Straight. Make funny face. And forward fold. Okay, so I'm glad everyone was entertained. Relax the face. For me, it's the warming up for the forward folding that's been, and the hamstrings that have been like key, but in an active way. Oh yeah, let that go. Okay, down dog. And child's pose, get the hamstrings and forward folding a break. Child's pose, we will meet. Oh yeah, process what just happened. Way to explore, again, project poses. A little bit of the pose is the pose. As long as you're entertained, smiling and breathing. Breathing, most important. Rock the forehead side to side. There's many ways to approach that pose. After the break, we'll use some more props like the wall and the strap. Flats are awesome. Props to props. Hands and knees. Speaking of props, let's lie down on one of the best props of all to the floor and have a block nearby. Well deserved, as always. Supported bridge pose. So you can press your feet down. We did a lot of active hip flexion. We could have done more. We kept it short but sweet and strong. Lift your hips enough to slide the block medium height or taller height if that feels good. I like medium height or low. Yeah. I love the sound effects. It means you're breathing. Allow your pelvis to be heavy into the block. You may need to adjust. It's all good. Oh, you are supported. Allow your breath to settle. Be mindful that you're not over-efforting yourself out of the pose. Allow the ribs and belly to soften, size the waist to soften to the back body. Explore allowing the base of the ribs to become heavier to the back body. Again, releasing, letting go of anything that keeps you from flying and trying. It doesn't have to be only in arm balancing or in Firefly. Think of somewhere else in your life. Something else you can let go of, not only on the mat, but also off the mat that keeps you from flying and trying. What does it feel like to be holding on to things that no longer serve you positively? For me, it's holding my breath. Begin to allow the breath to move more freely within your body. If you want, you could bring your feet closer together and do candlestick or supported shoulder stand. Right knee in, then left knee, and then extend both legs up to the sky, which could be a nice release for your hamstrings. Again, allow the front of the body to be soft to the back body. Once you lifted your legs, you may find you need to adjust the block to a different place. That's okay. Slowly releasing, bending the knees and lower one foot down and then the other. Press down through the feet. Lift the hips and lower them down. Knees rest in towards each other, feet wide. Wherever you want to place the hands. One to the heart, one to the belly. Breath is settling. Release your arms, windshield wiper your legs side to side. Noticing how nice it is to be lying down on the ground. Noticing how your attitude might change, the sensations in your body. Let's meet with the knees to the right. Slide your left foot to the left until left knee is straight out from your left hip. Flex your ankles, right ankle over left thigh. Stay here or reach the arms overhead. Bend the elbows, opposite hand to opposite tricep or elbow. Pit of the abdomen in and towards your head with each exhale. Slowly releasing your arms, releasing the top ankle, and bring your knees to center. Let's switch sides. Lower your knees to the left. Right knee straight out of your right hip. Flex the ankle, stay here, or left ankle over right thigh bone. Reach the arms up. You can also bend the elbows. Try to switch whatever forearm was on top. Pit of the abdomen in and towards your head. Breathing, softening your face, softening your jaw. Slowly releasing, bring it to center. Any other shape you feel like you need to round out your practice, go for it. If not, we'll meet in resting pose. Maybe a supine twist. The resting pose. Take up lots of space. Let whatever unnecessary tension you may be holding on to, just give it over to the ground. Give it over with each out breath. As we soften from the inside out. Soften the space in between your ears as you begin to soften your sensing organs. You are supported. All right. Noticing the points of contact touching the ground. Allow the ground to rise up and meet those points of contact as you allow those points of contact to become even heavier into the ground. No longer controlling the breath. You are being breathed. Know where you need to be. You're right here, right now. Slowly begin to deepen your breath. Bring your movement back to your fingers and your toes. Gently turn your head side to side. And with awareness, slide your legs closer in towards each other, bending one knee and the other. And then gather your knees into your chest with your hands or your arms. A big hug of gratitude for investing this time on your mat. With awareness, roll on over to whatever side you like. We'll come on up to a comfortable seated position, and you can stay lying down, whatever you need. Overlap your hands on top of your heart. Eyes could be closed or soft gaze. Think of one thing in your life that you are grateful for, no matter how big or small. We'll end together one cleansing breath. First, empty out all the air from your lungs. Inhale through your nose, fill up. And exhale, ha. As always, gratitude for practicing together. May it all be a